Now that the dust has settled, all of this has come out. Have you guys had a conversation?
We had a conversation on Sunday. It was real brief. The conversation was that
One more guest to go. Very much looking forward to having him on and very much appreciate him coming on. He's one of the very best coaches in all of mixed martial arts. He's been doing this for a couple of decades now. Reputation, integrity as high as any. And I can understand that this may be a bit of a tough time, a trying and challenging time. And so that is in large part why I am very grateful and thankful that he would come on. He is the head man over at Factory X over in Colorado. And he is Marc Montoya. He's Coach Marc Montoya, who is kind enough to join us on this Tuesday. Marc, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Earl, thanks for having me, man. It's been a minute since I've been on. I wish I was coming on here to speak to you about some great performances over the weekend. But, ultimately I'm here because I want to, first and foremost, just make sure that we clear the air. My gym is being attacked, my integrity is being attacked, and I just want to first and foremost say we have nothing to do with any of these allegations that are being brought upon us. People have asked me what my opinions are. To speculate right now is not my job. My job is to right now continue to lead and not react. And with that said, we as a team, myself as a person, I've never been involved in any type of betting format. I've actually never even placed a sports bet in my entire life. I couldn't tell you how to do it. And so, my job has always been to train these guys to fight and win, train these guys to win in life. And those are my two jobs. And so, I take that very seriously. And this is my life's work. And you can bet your ass that I would never, for any sort of money, I would never sell my integrity or my word, because in life, that's all you have. You have one thing. All these worldly things that we look at, the cars, the houses, the money, all those things, those are worldly man-made things. And, we go and we leave ourselves with one thing when we leave this earth, and that's our integrity and our word. And you couldn't pay me any amount of money to get rid of that. And so I just want to start by saying that it's a very unfortunate situation. It's still unfolding. And, I'm just not here to speculate. I'm here to speak facts.
I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate you jumping right into it. And I could see it on your face how much this is bothering you and pains you. And so could I ask, just, as someone who feels so strongly about these principles, how have the last 48, 72 hours been for you to be, to be witnessing all of this happening? Your reputation, no one's ever accused you of anything of this sort. And now to see all of this happening surrounding you.
Ariel, the thing is I care deeply about my athletes. I think that's one thing that anyone would say about me. And, I pray to God that any of these allegations right now are not true. And so, my care for my athletes, my job in coaching these guys to win in life, coaching these guys to win in the cage, I take that very seriously. So, the last couple of days, it's not been the funnest time I've ever gone through.
I appreciate that as well, and I could certainly understand that. And just if we're able to take a step back, your work with Isaac, when did it start? When did you start coaching him at Factory X?
Coached Isaac a couple fights ago. We've been 2-1 together, and like all my athletes, prior to obviously going to Saturday, all my athletes, my number one job, like I've already repeated, is to help these guys win in that cage. And so, we started working together a couple fights ago, and that's where we sit.
From all this, obviously he's a big topic of conversation right now, and I keep hearing from people like, this guy is an absolute beast in the gym, in the training room, going with some of the best fighters in the world and making them look like they're in the minors and he's a super elite talent. Is that the way you would describe Isaac going into this weekend? Was he a guy that you were very high on? Was he someone that you thought could be a contender at 145?
Ariel, we trained our butt off for this fight. He trained with world-class athletes leading up to this fight. He was physically and mentally ready to go into this fight and secure a victory. He's an amazing athlete. He's a guy worth putting investing time into in the fight world. And so, I don't go into any fight as a coach that I don't think we're going to go win. At the end of the day, that is our job. And so he's exceptional in that sense. And that is his pedigree.
Was there anything in the buildup to this fight, training camp, interactions, fight week, that gave you any sort of pause? Anything that happened, any sort of chatter, any sort of interaction, demeanor, reading his body language, anything at all that gave you any kind of pause?
Absolutely not.
So I reported yesterday on the program that around midday, when all of this stuff started to build up over on the West Coast, that the UFC caught wind of it and that they had an interaction, a conversation with him about, what is going on here and what do you know about this? Can you tell us about your day and your perspective on all of this? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you experience?
You're asking what happened on Saturday?
Yes.
What you're asking me?
Yes. Once all this stuff started to become public, and I understand they found out a little bit before that there was this, questionable betting activity surrounding this fight, him losing in the first round when he's this favorite who's never lost in the first round before. They catch wind of it, and my understanding is they had a conversation with him, maybe even two, and I'm just wondering what your perspective was on all of that, what you heard or saw.
Well, my perspective is that's a massive distraction from what our job is. Our job is that we prepared weeks upon weeks to go win a fight. And so, first and foremost, as a coach and as a person, I care about my fighters. So there's a conversation that needs to be had. And, we had the conversation about allegations. He reassured me he wasn't involved. And I have no reason not to believe him. And so, we reassess like we would any time. And, Ariel, whether it's a distraction like this or something else, it's not the first time I've had a fighter pre-fight where I've had to go and have a conversation with them, because there's not a fighter alive that walks in that cage that doesn't have fear or worry or scared, because they're getting ready to go fight another man. And so I treated it just like that. We have some news. Let's verify whether this is true or not. He reassured me it wasn't. And then my job, like I said, is to continue to train my guys to win in life, train my guys to win in that cage. And my full focus was, then awesome, let's go win a fight and prove ourselves right, and let's get after it. That ultimately was the discussion.
What are you then thinking as the fight is unfolding and it doesn't quite seem like he is himself? The takedown, the submission, defense and whatnot. What are you thinking at that point?
I mean, essentially I'd be speculating on what's going on there. I'm in the middle of a fight. What I'm thinking is the technical information that needs to be delivered to my fighter to not get submitted. And so all I'm thinking is talk him through. And if you could pull the corner audio if you want, talk him through passionately and with clear direction of how not to get submitted. That's what I'm thinking.
So at that point, you're not thinking like, what is going on? This is not him. Why is he doing this? Why is he not defending the right way? Are you getting frustrated? I know there's a lot going on, and I'm asking you to go back to a specific moment. It's very intense, but I'm just wondering if now any of those feelings are coming to light.
Well, it's not my job to get distracted in the corner. My job is to stay focused. My job, despite the noise, the white noise, I have to clear out. I've done, like you said, I've been doing this for 20 years. As a head coach, I've coached UFC athletes for 15 years. I'm probably one of the more longstanding active coaches in the UFC. My job consistently has been to get in there and train these guys to win, and ultimately do that and turn out all the noise. We do that in practice. We do that at fights. We do that in arenas. We do that in the apex. So my job, my whole focus when we're in the middle of that is he already reassured me that we're good. So I'm going to trust my athlete. And so from there, I'm going to technically work through how to get out of a submission. And that's my job as a coach, is to speak truth and have clarity and have conviction on direction. All this other stuff is noise. There's so much noise that happens behind any type of fight, especially when you've been involved in it as long as I have. So my job ultimately is to go in there and help my fighter. That's ultimately my job.
I have never doubted that. Fight ends. He obviously loses. What happens in the back?
What happens in the back is we go to the medicals, and I don't have any time to spend with him because I have another fight that I need to go corner. And so ultimately, just the standard protocol. He goes to medical room, gets cleared, and then at the Apex, they ship those guys out. And for me, and any coach that's done what I've done and has multiple fighters on the card, essentially I got to get back to my job, refocus despite a win or a loss, and be present for my next fighter.
Have you talked to him since the fight? Now that the dust is settled, all of this has come out. Have you guys had a conversation?
We had a conversation on Sunday. It was real brief. The conversation was that he was cut from the UFC, and unfortunately, there's an investigation that is being had, and ultimately that he's not part of this Factory X team because of everything going on, and that was ultimately the conversation.
Okay, so you made the decision to release him from the team?
Ariel, whether he's guilty or he's innocent, in my prediction, Isaac Dulgarian is not going to fight again. And so, does it really matter where he claims where he's training? Ultimately, where we sit today is in just a crazy mess with all these allegations. And so, the least of his concerns right now would be where he's at and where he's training.
I understand that, but I mean, if it is found that he is not guilty, why wouldn't he? I mean, he's still a great fighter not that long ago. So, even Derek Minner, who was involved in a situation like this 3 years ago, came back to fight outside of the UFC. And so I think it speaks volumes if you do part ways with him, because why would someone want someone who is potentially involved with something like that in the gym?
Ultimately, I can't speculate. That's the FBI's job. I'm waiting, just like you are and the rest of these people are, to figure out whether or not this is true. And so, where he goes. And so, at the end of the day, I can't speculate. It's not
Sure.
my job. That's the FBI's job. They're gonna, really only Ariel, God, and Isaac know the truth. And the FBI obviously is going to investigate this, and they're going to find out whether this happens or not. And like I said, I just pray for Isaac and his family that, it's not true. But ultimately, I got to sit and wait just like everybody else.
If it's not true, would you advise him to come back to the gym and resume his career?
I would have to cross that bridge when we got there. I couldn't, I have no idea. I'd have to cross that bridge when we get there.
Do you have any idea? So you said you spoke to him on Sunday. Do you have any idea how he's doing 2 days later? Obviously, this is a massive story now. Have you spoken to him or checked in on him?
I haven't spoke to him recently. I like I said, I spoke to him on Sunday, and that was the end of our conversation. I haven't spoke to him, as you can tell and figure. There's been a lot going on here, and so a lot on my plate. And for me, my job is to lead and not react, and I need to be able to continue to be a great leader for all of my team. I need to be a great leader for my family. And like I said, my job is to train these guys to win, man. My job is to train these guys to win in life. And so I need to continue to lead that way and not react.
What's been the mood like at the gym the last 2 days?
Oh, the mood is these guys. We all have a chip on our shoulder. We don't want to be lumped into any type of allegation when it's untrue. We are not part of any of this alleged thing that's going on. And so there's a chip on our shoulders, because if you're being wrongly accused of something, the biggest reason I'm here and speaking with you is because I want to shout from the mountaintops that myself and my team, my coaching staff, We have nothing to do with this situation. Somebody else's decisions or what they did or didn't do, I can't control, unfortunately. I try to lead the best I can. But, ultimately, we want what's best for of course, all the people we're surrounded by. But we need to continue to look forward. I mean, the bottom line is if we keep looking backwards, how do we move the ball forward? And so, the whole talk around here in my gym is let's move this ball forward. Let's not talk about an individual. Let's talk about the tribe and the team. Let's move that ball forward. Let's continue to work toward our goals, chase dreams, and continue to have that winning mindset and that championship mindset that's put us on this map of where we are, has given us the opportunity to go chase dreams, and ultimately that's the mood.
With that in mind, obviously this is the topic du jour, and I don't know if it's going to go away anytime soon. And now you're seeing other fighters come out and say, yeah, I've been approached or whatnot. Have you had any discussions about, like, hey guys, do not do this, do not think about doing this, do not consider this, so that other people don't find themselves potentially in a situation like this?
Like I said earlier, my job is to continue to lead these guys. And of course, there's always conversations about all kinds of things in life that we shouldn't do. And so with this said, that's 100% just basically known factor that if we're going to be champions in life, this is the kind of stuff that we definitely can't get a part of, and so, or be a part of. And they take that to heart, just like they take to heart, let's be great fighters and let's be great men. And so, what other people are saying or doing, I can't control, and I don't know those narratives, and I don't know what those things are about. But I do know that I've been around such a bunch of solid people that, like I said earlier, Ariel, I hate losing more than I like winning. And that's the attitude that consistently I have carried as a coach. And all these worldly things that we chase, the money, the cars, the houses, those are man-made worldly things. There's only one thing we take with us, like I said at the beginning, and that's our integrity and our word. And so what other people do, I can't control. I can only control what I do and how I act and how I profess and lead to my family and to my team. And with that said, let's leave this place with massive amounts of integrity and go knowing that only one thing really matters, and that is carrying our word.
In this moment, like you've been in, I said you were a coach for around 2 decades. Like as far as martial arts, how long have you been involved in martial arts? Pre-coaching?
I mean, since 1998, I is when I really started training.
So 27 years or so, right? Does it just the impression that I'm getting from you in this conversation, coach, is that like you feel almost like blindsided that someone would do something like this, because as you keep saying, integrity, that's all we have, that's the most important thing. Would that be fair to say? Like it seems very short-sighted to do something like this, even for a few 100,000. Is that fair? And is, like, am I completely off base here? Is that not the sentiment that you're trying to exude?
Oh, the sentiment I'm trying to exude is that life throws you all kinds of things. And at the end of the day, what is our purpose and what is our meaning? What are we doing? Like, let's have conviction in that thing. And, as a head coach and leader, I have to keep that in mind. I have to live that for myself. And life is going to blindside you all the time. And it's not if it's going to, it's going to. And the question and the measure of true character is, how do we respond? And again, that's why I'm on here. I'm not hiding from anything. I could have chose not to come on here. I could have said, I'm just going to let this disappear and other things happen. I'm not hiding from this. The reason I'm not hiding from this is because it's absurd that we're even in this kind of position to even talk about this. I'm not talking to you about the massive amount of win streaks that I've had with so many UFC athletes and the massive amount of winning that we've had with so many athletes. Instead, we're talking about a bunch of nonsense and sitting here essentially saying, yo, I take accountability for our actions. But at the end of the day, there's no freaking way that myself or my coaching staff or my existing team is involved in anything like that. And so, yeah, life is going to blindside you, but how do you react? And my reaction is, let's sit here and explain to the public. You know, people are wanting to form their opinions, and that's okay. It's okay because that's what life is. But for me, I'm not speaking from opinion, I'm speaking from fact. Fact is, I train fighters to win in life. I train fighters to win in a fight, and that's the bottom freaking line. And that's what I've always done.
I appreciate that. One last question on Isaac, and then I'll ask you another one and let you go. And I really do appreciate the time. Some interviews and stories and clips have come out, him talking about his living situation and things like that. Do you have any sort of insight into, like, was he struggling? Did he feel like he wasn't making enough? Because this stuff is starting to come out now.
Well, Ariel, I think it's a pretty loaded question because I think if you ask any athlete, whether it's in the UFC, the NBA, the NFL, whether they make enough money or not, you're going to get many answers. And so everybody is aware of what these young UFC athletes make. Whether he says he's struggling or not, I can't answer. I mean, it's public knowledge what these guys make. And I can't tell you whether or not he feels that, because I'd be speculating what he feels.
That's fair. And I wasn't trying to catch you there. The difference is, NBA, NFL, NHL guys, MLB guys, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. MMA fighters aren't, to your point. And he said he was, living in an RV and things like that. Those guys aren't. So I didn't know that would obviously answer some questions given his current financial state. But I understand where you were coming from. That's probably a better question for Isaac. The team doing well as always. You did have a fighter in the main event, David Onama against Steve Garcia. Could I ask you about your assessment of that fight with Steve winning? He's looked very good as of late, as has David. From your perspective, what went wrong that night?
Oh, just credit to Steve showed up. He beat us. We didn't perform to our abilities that night, and it's unfortunate. But you got to remember, we're talking the Isaac Dulgarian situation is talking about a loss. Let's talk about some winning. Like, David Onama was on a 4-fight win streak since coming to my gym. He hasn't lost until Saturday night. And he catapulted himself from just a regular fighter to a top 15 fighter in the main event at the Apex. That kid has earned everything that he has gotten up to this point. And, unfortunately, we didn't do our job in the main event. And credit to Steve and his team, because they did. And that's the bottom line. It is Onama will be back. Onama will be better because he's going to learn from this, and that's what's built him and gotten him to this point. When he came to me, he was on a loss. We turned that around into a 4-fight win streak, and he has gone out there and looked amazing. And we need to go and do an even better job than we did in that first 4-fight win streak, and go create another one past that, so that Onama can go solidify his dreams and his goals that he has for himself and his family.
Yusuf Zalal's on a roll. We were just talking about him with Aljo. Who would you like to see him fight next?
I'd love to see Yusuf. Yusuf is on a 10-fight win streak since 2022. So again, we're talking about a lot of winning. That's why I said to you, my job is helping these guys win in life, helping these guys win in the cage. He's on a 10-fight win streak since 2022. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And to do it at the level that he's done is amazing. I'd love to see him fight Laurent Murphy. I think that's a great matchup for him. I think it's a great matchup for the fans. I think stylistically that would be a fun fight. That would be somebody I would love to see him go and fight.
Last thing, off the screen here, you look to be in phenomenal shape. You seem in great spirits and very healthy. I know you were battling some health issues recently. Could you just update us, if you feel comfortable doing so, on how you're doing?
Yeah, no, I've always talked about having kidney cancer and having that battle to come back. And the only reason I've talked about that is not to highlight myself, is to more so highlight and give hope and purpose for people that are dealing with this stuff, because it's a tough road. It doesn't matter the kind of cancer you have, but it's a tough road. It's taken me multiple years now to feel, quote unquote, somewhat like myself. And, it's a tough battle, but I feel very fortunate. I feel like God has continued to put me in this position to just continue this life and like I said, continue to be a leader and do the things that I've done. And so, anytime you say cancer, is very scary. And, the biggest thing is I scared a lot of people around me. And anytime you have something like that, it's going to absolutely change your perspective. And it's also going to give you hope and give you a platform to go speak hope into people. So, I'd love to say to the people out there that if you're suffering with anything like this, or you're just suffering with something, that you should go out there and hopefully you can draw from the strength I've been given by God, and you can do the same thing on your end, and you can battle through this and know that you're not walking through this alone, because that's what helped me get through a lot of this.
I wish you the best, Marc. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I know it's been a difficult and frustrating time for you and the team, so thanks for coming on, telling us your side of the story, and hopefully this storm passes for you guys quickly and you can focus on the fights and fighters. All the best to you.
Ariel, I appreciate you having me on. And hey, next time I come on here, let's talk about these win streaks that we have, because we have a bunch of them.
Absolutely. You have my word on that. Thank you, Coach. All the best to you. There he is, Marc Montoya, the head coach and owner of Factory X over in Colorado. Obviously a tough time. Very much appreciate him coming on and giving us his side of a story that, you would suspect can only get bigger. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.